Welcome back to Razmafzar TV. Today, I'm having Hannah Rokni from the USA here on our channel. Hi, Hannah. How are you?
I am well. Hello. How are you?
Good to see you, Hannah. Hannah is a Razmafzar USA as a student and a member. Hannah, can you just give us some background information about who you are?
Yes. So I started Razmafzar over the summer. I am also an equestrian and I do mounted archery. I participate with the Society for Creative Anachronism. So I kind of combine everything, including my Persian ancestry as well. And I do historical Persian costuming with my horse. And I started Razmafzar so I could also do Persian archery and shamshir.
Very good.
So,
When did you start archery, Hannah, in general, archery?
so I actually started archery with my horse. I did archery for the first time probably in middle school, and I have always enjoyed it, but I didn't continue with it. So I picked up when I bought my horse, I kind of discovered that mounted archery was a thing, and it sounded really cool. So in September of 2021, I did it for the first time. I went to a clinic in Southern California with the woman who is now my mentor. Her name is Heather Lomax. She taught me how to do archery on the ground first, and then we did it with the horses later on that afternoon. So I kind of did all of it together.
Oh, very nice. I have a question. First of all, tell us where you live in the United States before we go into techniques and so.
Yeah. So I live in Northern California, in the greater Sacramento area. I live in a small area that's very horse dedicated, so it's pretty great. But I'm within a couple of hours of Lake Tahoe, of San Francisco, so it's a great like central location.
Can you tell us a bit, if you wish, about your profession?
I work for the state of California, so I am an analyst. It's nothing really exciting, but the department that I work for does funding for businesses to help train their employees. So it's kind of cool to work in an industry that you actually see the difference that you're making with the money that goes to the workers in creating better jobs and better wages.
Excellent. Okay, and tell us about riding. What is the most challenging aspect of riding?
Horseback riding?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, so it is really learning how to do everything with my horse, because I purchased my horse as an 8-year-old. She was 8, and she had been sitting for several years. Basically, she was green broke, which means she had light training on her. And she's a Spanish Mustang. And she definitely has that kind of Mustang personality where she can be a little explosive. Not so much anymore, but when I first got her, working with her and trying to get her to understand ideas and accept what we were asking of her meant that she was a little explosive. So now it's interesting because she doesn't have a lot of formal training. I've done a lot of her training on her.
Mhm.
And so when I take lessons with her, um, getting her to actually use her body in a more like dressage manner,
Mhm.
collected, doesn't come as naturally for her. I mean, it doesn't necessarily come naturally for any horse. You have to train them for it. But since I mostly did trail riding with her and a lot of camping, I used to do endurance riding. So that means like distance riding.
Mhm.
And she isn't necessarily trained to do things like the Rosfectin or, dressage because she doesn't know how to use her body that way. So training her to use her body is the most complicated thing that I'm dealing with right now. And that is my goal for us is
Mhm.
to be able to get her collected in a manner that I can use her for, doing swords on horseback.
Mhm. Um, could you tell, for those of us on this channel who don't know how to ride, what is endurance riding? How far should you go to be considered endurance riding?
So endurance riding truly is like 50 miles or more. I'm not gonna lie, I did mostly limited distance riding,
Mm,
which the furthest we went was like 35 miles.
mm,
Um, so, but endurance riding is like we have a local one that's called the Tevis
mm,
ride, and that's 100 miles in 24 hours. And it's one of the most complicated rides. Every year, there are issues with the horses. Horses get pulled for um, if they aren't drinking enough water. Sometimes they can have metabolic issues or they pull up lame. Um, there have been a couple of tragedies on the trail. So it's one of the most difficult rides.
and during these endurance challenges, if I may call it so, are horses allowed to eat or drink?
Yes,
Oh,
you
yeah.
actually encourage it a lot. So you want them to eat and drink as much as possible because for horses, keeping their stomach full and having food and forage in their stomach actually helps them because they're constantly grazing. That's what they are. They are grazing animals. They want to have something in their tummies at all times. So having forage is great for them. A lot of trail riders won't allow their horses to eat when they're out on the trail. I have taught my horse to kind of like grab a bite and then keep moving. So that way she can eat on the trail while she's moving, but she doesn't stop and, just graze. She actually will like eat as she walks.
Do you most of the time on endurance riding walk, let them walk, trot, or gallop?
It's mostly trotting,
Oh, okay.
but then you kind of, you'll let them walk to cool down or rest. That's kind of their rest period. Um, and then for endurance riding, you also have vet checks. So like for a limited distance ride, you'll have one vet check. So it's usually halfway through or somewhere about halfway through. So if it's a 25-mile ride, you'll have it about between like 10 and 15 miles into the ride. And then you also have a vet check at the end. And what they check is they check your horse's heart rate, they check capillary refill, how much water your horse has. They check, their feet. And basically, they want to make sure that they're healthy and that they are capable of continuing the ride.
Wow. Okay. Um, is it that do you put your horse on a diet from time to time, or is not you're not allowed to do that?
Um, It's mostly like restrictive eating. It also depends like what kind of diet you mean. Like my roommate had a horse who is insulin resistant. So meaning she can't eat hay that or anything that has sugar. So she can't really go out and graze on the grass because it has too much sugar in it. So it can have a really detrimental effect on her hooves. It can cause her to founder, and which basically means that like the joints in her hoof will rotate, and it can cause her to be lame and possibly even have to be put down. So you have to be really careful. And she is on a very restricted diet. She can only eat a certain type of hay that is very low sugar. She can only get any treats that are, sugar free or very, very low sugar. She can't go graze for more than a couple of minutes, maybe once a week. Um, whereas like my horse, she definitely is what they would call an easy keeper. She doesn't need a lot of hay, but we will give her, whatever poundage of hay her body weight necessitates. And then we also feed her in a bag. It's called like a slow feeder. So that way it kind of helps, her be able to eat hay throughout the day without over consuming it all at one time. Although my horse personally is pretty good about not eating everything at once.
Every day we learn something new. I didn't even know there is sugar in hay.
Yes. And grass too, actually. So grass, when you look at it, when the shorter grasses have the most sugar in it, whereas like the longer grasses have less sugar. And also the morning time is the best time to go and feed your horse because the sun also helps produce the sugars because the process of, I can't remember the name of it, but like when the how
Is it
plants
is it
generate
also
food.
sugar for us in it, or is it because horses can digest it and it becomes sugar for them?
I do not know the answer to that.
Okay, so now I was just asking myself. Okay, and what else can you give your horses to eat? Can you give them fruit?
Yes,
Oh, you can. Okay.
yes. Like
Hmm.
my horse, she loves apples and carrots. Also, she really likes watermelon.
Oh boy.
Loves watermelon, even the rind. Like I won't necessarily give her like, I'll eat the inside. And then even our neighbor will come by with just the rinds of the watermelon. My roommate's horse does not like them. My horse loves them.
Um, yeah, are horses exclusively herbivores, or do they eat sometimes insects or other animals?
So they're mostly herbivores, but there are horses around the world who maybe live in climates where they might have access to fish or something, and they will eat it.
Oh,
Sometimes horses do take a chomp out of other animals. Like you will see horses sometimes eating chickens or, rats or mice. It's not common, but it does happen. I mean, they are fairly fairly strictly herbivores, but there are rare instances of
uh,
of them eating random things.
I remember from my limited experience in riding, very limited. I remember for me, the most difficult one to learn was trot. It was so difficult for me to learn that. I don't even know why is trot so difficult.
It's because it can be fairly bouncy, I think. You have to get into the rhythm with the horse. And if you are sitting, all horses are built differently. And some horses, um, if they don't if they don't understand collection, like my horse, her trot is what I would consider bouncy because she's not utilizing her body necessarily in the completely correct manner. The more training I put on her, the more her trot will improve.
Mm.
But right now it's very bouncy. So like when I was doing limited distance endurance riding, I would stand actually in like what they call a 2 point, mostly instead of sitting in my saddle. Whereas some people are able to sit in their saddle during their horse's trot because their horse has, a relatively even trot, meaning like as it trots, it doesn't really like do much
Mhm.
of this, but it's still fairly, even. Um, and then if you're posting, which means that you stand up halfway in the saddle as you're trotting, um, you have to learn the rhythm of that. And it also is a very good workout for your thighs.
Yeah, I remember. I remember that. Is
Yes,
trot a natural gait for
yes.
horses, or it's natural? It's not that we humans taught them to do. Okay.
No, and there's actually horses that are gated. And gated horses, it basically means that they have a natural gait. So gaits are basically walk, trot, canter,
Exactly.
and gallop.
Is there
So
a difference
gated
between
horse,
canter and gallop? Excuse me.
canter is more of like a collected. So like you could consider it kind of like, a jog
Oh,
almost, whereas
okay.
like a gallop would be more like, a flat out run.
Mm, mm,
Like if you were being chased and you were just like flat out running, that's like
mm,
kind of more of like what a gallop would be. They're similar and but a canter is usually not a flat out run.
mm. I see. So, are there any other gaits a horse can do, or
Yes.
only? Oh, they are.
Well, so and that's what I forgot for a minute what I was talking about. So there are actually different breeds of horses, and there are some horses that are called gaited horses. They have different gaits other than walk, trot, canter. There's like a foxtrot, there's, Tennessee walkers who have a different gait too.
Mhm.
There's also like a shuffle. Um, you know, Icelandic horses have the tolt. I don't know all of the information about the different gaits and like the beats that they have, but it's usually breed specific. There's also the pace, like there's standard bred pacing horses. It's kind of like, their left and front and hind legs all go together, and then their right, front and hind leg go together. So they run like this. So it's called a pace.
Okay, let's go to archery. When you started archery, did you do Mediterranean draw, finger draw, or thumb draw?
I actually did what they call Persian or Slavic.
Mhm,
So it's similar to the Sasanian draw,
mhm,
except that instead of, doing it this way,
mhm.
I did it this way. So you
Ah,
still have, the one finger here and then you have the two here, but I kept my thumb uh here
mhm.
instead. So
Yes. Just for our viewers to know, Hana means also still the arrow is on the right side of the bow.
yes, that is correct. So I did not learn the thumb draw until I started Razmafzar. I still do not know Mediterranean draw.
Okay, of course, this is the other side. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
very
and I don't
different.
know that I would be able to do it. That's a little it seems a little complicated to have it on the other side of the bow.
Yeah, it is. It's completely different. Also for the
Yeah.
brain. Yeah, of
Uh-huh.
course. It's very
I
different.
also one of the biggest differences for me too is now I am learning my left side as well as my right side. So I was pretty much right side exclusive. I never shot with the left side of my arm. I broke my wrist several years ago and I had, shoulder impingement surgery. So my left side is not as strong. But, now with Razmafzar, I'm learning how to shoot with my left hand too. And that's been
But you are doing a great job from the left side.
Thank you. But it's also been a lot of like, relearning the brain, your
Yes,
right
of
side of
course.
your brain and your left side of the brain. It took me a good minute to be able to figure out how to shoot from the left side.
Okay, now let me just ask you this. I know these are like kids' questions because we need to learn all from draws. Which is your favorite? Borutkesh, Abrukesh, Rishkesh, or Sinekesh?
Um, I really do enjoy the Borut Kesh. It
Mhm,
tends to be the one that I use the most, just because of, I feel like doing horseback archery, it's the one that I tend to do the most naturally.
mhm.
Um, but I also like Abukesh.
Oh, yeah, so, yeah, of course.
I
Abrukesh is very
do.
elegant, right?
Yeah, I do
Very
enjoy that
elegant.
one quite a lot.
It looks very elegant.
M- My
Okay.
least favorite is Sinekesh.
Sinekesh is hell, isn't it?
Yes.
It's really hell, of course. For everyone, it's the hardest. Everyone complains about Sinekesh. That's right. Yeah. I think because it's like against your natural ability or perception of, I don't know, the dimensions. I don't know.
Yeah.
And
I also
from,
feel like it engages your different muscles. Like,
yeah, yeah,
I don't use these muscles as much.
yeah,
I'm used to like having it up here, whereas I have to actually use more like down here, and it's just
different
more difficult
muscles.
for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. From grasping the bow, which one is your favorite? Changalebaz, Bahromi, Morabba, Modawar, or Shirdast?
So I really enjoy Bahrami.
Mhm.
Um, and then let me see. Can you say them again, please?
Okay, Changalebaz, right?
Hmm.
Bahromi or
Oh,
Khandan,
yes.
Morabba, right?
Moraba is the other one. That's
Oh,
the one that I use when I do mounted archery.
you do Morabba when you do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel
Um,
like it's
mm,
more stable when you're on a horse.
mm,
So because you're moving usually at speed, you start mounted archery walking, but then
mm,
as you progress, if you want to, you can, your
mm,
goal is to do it at the canter. So you're moving fast, and Moraba is definitely.
mm. And from positions, do you like standing, kneeling, different positions of kneeling, squatting, sitting, or lying on the ground and shooting?
It's really fun to do the kneeling positions. I really
Mm,
enjoy those. And I feel like they actually help with the training for doing horseback archery.
yeah, they do.
Um, but I really enjoy the standing position.
Mm,
I feel like it's really fun to put your whole body into it.
mm,
Whereas when you're doing any of the other ones, you aren't engaging your full body as much.
that's right. And from pulling the string, do you like thumb draw, shast keshidan, or do you like Sasanian?
I gravitate more towards thumb draw now.
Oh, really?
Um,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
at least on the ground. I have yet to do it on horseback, um, mostly because my horse is injured right now,
Mm,
and she will be on rest for a couple of more months
mm,
at least. So I have not had a chance to try it
mm,
on horseback
mm,
because when she was still rideable, I was not confident
mm,
in thumb draw.
mm.
Um, so I don't know yet which one I feel more comfortable with on horseback. But on the ground, I gravitate more towards thumb draw.
Okay. Hannah, have you shot different arrowheads or not yet?
Not yet.
Okay,
Mm-mm.
so that's also something which we need to go into that and to
Yes.
experiment with it. Very good. And another thing I wanted to ask you, when you ride and want to do horseback archery, Which one do you shoot the best? Walking, trotting, or cantering?
Well, so it's interesting because when we always do walking, whenever, because I have a club here in for the greater Sacramento area. It's called Shabdy's Mounted Archers. We're currently on hiatus just because it's winter time. Um, but when I when we have practices, you always start walking. You're never going to do it cantering or at speed, as we call it, too. Um, so I feel like I'm decent at
Mm,
walking, definitely.
mm,
I'm still learning always at the canter because um, I am working on not only myself, but I'm also working on my horse
mm,
because it's a partnership. Mounted archery is not just me. I also have my horse to think about. So right now, especially, I am getting my horse mentally in the game for cantering. I can shoot at a canter, um, and it's definitely, I probably miss more than I hit the target, but I'm also working with my horse. My horse wasn't so happy cantering for a while. And then when I started her on a new supplement that helped her tummy feel better, um, then she kind of it really helped her mindset. So we started cantering really well this last year,
mm,
um, probably since May. And then she was injured. So it's kind of,
mm,
our progress has stopped for the moment, for the
mm,
time being.
mm,
And it'll hopefully pick up when she's healed.
yeah,
But I feel like before I was more worrying about my horse's relationship to and mine with the canter,
mm,
because I'm not going to lie, a lot of people personally feel like the canter is one of the most difficult gaits to work with. Like you are going fast.
mm,
Um, some horses have a slow canter, but mine has a relatively moderate one. But it's also a very it feels like kind of you're on a rocking horse when you're cantering.
mm,
And it's also usually where a horse will like buck or crow hop or rear. Well, not rear, but usually buck. Um, so a lot of people are scared of it. It took me a couple of years to gain the confidence to canter on my horse. Um, I actually hadn't ridden in about 10 years, and then I bought my horse, and her and I have learned a lot together. Um, they say don't do a green horse with a green rider. Um, that was me. I did have
mm,
a new horse who didn't know very much with a rider who didn't know very much. I mean,
mm,
I had done a lot of horseback riding when I was younger, but it was always at a barn. I never owned my own horse.
mm,
Um, so I learned a lot working with a trainer. That's the only way I could have ever purchased, a new horse who didn't know so much. So I feel like very long answer to your question, but there's definitely a lot of subtlety there that, we're working on it. We're working on
mm.
cantering. So right now I'm better shooting at a walk than at a canter, but it is my goal to get better at shooting at a canter.
Oh, okay, very good. And what about, let's move on to shamshir and separ. What is your favorite guard in shamshir and separ?
Probably the high guard.
The tip forward?
Yes,
That
tip forward.
why?
I feel like it's powerful.
It's also my favorite guard, actually.
Yeah. It presents this image, you're fierce when you have, your tip up
Yeah.
like that and your separ in front of you. It's a fierce image.
Yes. All right. Which cut is your favorite cut in shamshir and separ?
Um, the diagonal one.
Downward or upward?
Hmm.
Downward.
Down because I like how it goes underneath. I think that's
Oh,
really fun.
okay. Which trust is your favorite trust in Shamshi and Sepa?
Um,
Is it high trust, overhand trust, horizontal, or lower trust?
I think the horizontal one
Horizontal.
because it's what I love about the shamshir is it's kind of a surprise. You have your tip and you can be looking at the tip like as the other person, and then all of a sudden you think it's over here, but then all of a sudden it comes around and then it's like
Yes,
right here in front of you because it's
yes,
a curved blade.
yes,
So, that's one of the things that I love about, the shamshir, especially like when you're doing the thrust, it might start low, but then as you thrust, it moves.
okay,
So,
very good. One day you're going to do it also on horseback. Am I correct?
yes,
Oh,
that is my goal.
that's very good. That's very good. Next to Shamshi and Sepa and archery, what is your next weapon you would like to delve into?
So, I also would love to work with the spear and
Okay.
the mace.
Mace. Oh God, okay. Very nice. No,
Well,
why
I
not?
mean,
No, no, why not? No, no. Because they ask the reason I was surprised, because not many people are interested in mace. Mace is the favorite weapon of Hayden. Hayden loves mace. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I was surprised, because that's why, most people want to have archery, shamsi and separ, clear, and spear. And then if they want to learn, then there's anything else, card, khanjar. But
Uh-huh.
mace is very rare. That's why I was surprised. He said mace. That's very interesting. Yeah.
So, in the SCA, or Society for Creative Anachronism, we play a lot of games on horseback,
Okay.
and you can use the mace for some of those games, which is part of
Ah,
the reason why I'm interested in it. So, like, I was the equestrian champion for the West Kingdom
well,
couple of years ago, and when we had our next championships, one of the games that we played was it's called Head, and you basically have like fake heads on posts,
mm,
um, and you knock them off
uh,
and with like a baton or something. So my roommate created like a gore's head
mm.
mace, with the kind of the
Bull-headed
uh,
mace.
yeah, yeah, the bullheaded mace, exactly.
Yes.
So she took like a stuffed animal and like put it, took the head off of it and then put it on a bat baton thing. And she painted it. And so it was like the bull's head mace that, we have
Mm.
in the books. So it was really fun. And then we knocked the heads off with that.
Oh, that's very nice. Mhm. Okay, very nice. What are your plans in future? Just tell us a bit about your plans for training or whatever.
My goal is to continue with everything. My goals are really to also, transfer everything that I want to, or that I am learning onto horseback. I want to be able to spar with somebody else, on the ground. I want to be able to spar with somebody else on horseback. Um, I also eventually would love to be able to teach other people how to, do
Excellent.
this, wonderful sport, that not many people know about, but
Yes.
there definitely is interest.
Mhm.
It's there very much uh, a niche market within this
Yes.
overall sport.
Yes. Very good. Thanks, Hannah. Do you want to share anything else with our viewers today?
I don't think so. I think that pretty much it. If you have any other, questions or
How is
whatnot,
life in California at the moment? But you told me you are not affected by fire, so I don't need to worry about you.
no. We are currently exiting a massive storm where it just rained like 5 inches over the last week.
Wow.
So, Yeah,
Okay.
we had a tree fall down in front of our house last night. So
Oh,
it was that windy.
but
So
nothing
other than
happened,
that,
right?
no, no, it was
Okay.
outside of our house on the driveway. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
but everything else is very good. It's very, very damp right now, but um
Okay, Hannah. Thank you
likewise.
very much, and I wish you a nice day. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. You
Bye-bye.
too. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.